Mr. Worldwide.
Welcome everyone to Global Brothers Podcast. We're excited to have today's guest on, a brother that we've known for a while, very inspiring brother, both to Heath and myself, and one that we're glad to call a friend as well, Mr. Habila Malgwi. He is a global citizen, an entrepreneur, an investment banker, and a wealth specialist. Just love being around that guy because I know, something's going to rub off. So here we are.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Hey man, let's get into it though. Son of Africa, okay? How does that define your journey? Tell us about you being a global ambassador, a son of Africa, the pride that you have in some of the things that you do. You're a door opener or a linchpin to a lot of people's wealth, a lot of people's vision and goals. So you're kind of a gateway. People can go through you and some of the things that you do.
Well, I mean, in as much as, and I'll start by saying that I think that one of the most, privileged out of so many Black people around the world, and as an African as well, it is very important that I actually put on that crown. Now, so many people don't really understand that we as Africans, as Black people, we're powerful. We are intelligent. We are smart. And we should never allow anybody to look down on us or tell us we can't do something. So I would say I've been privileged to start with. However, the fact that I come from Africa and also Nigeria as a country, in particular, has actually given me that confidence that, I have to do way above the standards that the world has actually placed us. Now, today you would hear a lot of stories about, being Nigerian or you're Nigerian or this or that. But you see, those things should never define who we are and who we should be. And I recall that so many times I've met so many people, and what I try to tell them is that, look, I am better. I am Black. I am Nigerian. I carry a kingship in me. And I think my passion right from time has always been to help people in every other way. I have always had this dream that, and I remember I always tell myself, if I had money, I would help almost everybody in the world. Like, people shouldn't be hungry. People shouldn't be stranded. As a little boy, I used to think that way. And when I had the opportunity to be an instrument to people's life, I didn't hesitate. All right. Now, I could have impacted people's life either through money, either through education, welfare, or sponsoring or something, or even through making them become global citizens. But see, in the end, what matters is that I want my people to succeed. I want my people to grow. I want my people to be seen as world leaders and changers. We should be, what I call it, the change that the world has always been talking about. And it starts with you and I. So everybody has a responsibility to be great. We all have a responsibility to change the world. It's a collective responsibility.
If I will, man, I want to comment on what you just said, especially at the beginning. First and foremost, this has been a long overdue interview. All right, we've been thinking about you for a long time. I think we talked about it a little while back about having you on Global Brothers Podcast. So once again, man, welcome. But you said something that made me think about what someone told me as an educator. And he told me this when I was training to become a principal. I think I was already a principal, but I was in a leadership program, and it was very rigorous and tough, and I was struggling through the program. And I was the only Black person in the program. There were 7 of us, so it was 6 white people. And I thought I was the odd man out in the program struggling. And a brother told me this, and you mentioned it just now. He said, Heath, we walk through the door more qualified than most people. And when you said I'm actually better, that made me think of that. Like, although we think we have to do double the work or we have to be that much better, there's many times we walk through the door of a space and the attributes that we bring are already at par or ahead of other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But you see, the thing is, for me, I think if there's anything I want anyone to actually learn from me today is the fact that, again, when I get to a place, I don't see myself as black. I don't see other people as white or whatever, color they are, or wherever they come from. I see myself, again, the word better. And it's important. It's very important that we all carry that mindset, because the moment you get into a place and you say, damn, I'm the only black person here, I have to do double of what others, are going to do before I can get this position, then trust me, there's a high chance that you're not even going to get the position.
Right.
But when you come into that place as an individual that is intelligent and know what you're doing, and you know that you are the best in that room, nobody can take that position away from you.
Right. Yeah. And you remove something when you do that. We had this conversation, I believe, on our last show. There's a term called stereotype threat.
Yeah.
And that is a term that people in, whether it be marginalized groups or disenfranchised groups, carry with them. And that's what I was carrying with me. And what you're talking about is removing that threat, taking it off your shoulders, taking it out of your psyche, and basically saying, I'm the best. Forget the race, forget the gender, forget the nationality, forget the passport. I'm the best guy in this room, or I'm the best human being in this room. Yeah, and that's where I would say more than likely a Barack Obama probably did that in order to ascend to the presidency. He had to remove those layers that's embedded in us, and in order for him to focus on the job.
Yeah. And I tell you what, and all through my career, I think I've always been more or less the odd guy in the group. And people always look like, oh, wow, okay, how did you get here? But you see, I got myself there, of course, with God, but I made sure that they see me to get me there, no matter what. And I'll tell you a short story. When I was doing just right after my university, and I was going for my military service, NYSC anyway, not the military service. So it's called the National Youth Service Corps. And in the camp, I recall that a friend of mine asked me, so where are you going to be posted to? And I had plans to basically work in the bank because I studied economics. So my plan was I was going to work in a bank called GT Bank or somewhere anyway. My father was going to fix me or whatever. I didn't really care much anyway, but there was something that I said, and I said I was going to Chevron. And I had no idea about that. Like I don't know where it came from. I just said it, that I was going to be posted there. And they looked at me like, okay. And of course, most people who actually get posted to Chevron at that time, because it's more or less the biggest and the largest oil and gas company in Nigeria, or rather in the world, more or less. They're mostly people who had graduated maybe from Harvard or wherever, schooled internationally. But I had a mindset that I was going to get in there. And I recall that I met the lady who was helping to post people, and she had already arranged and told me that my letter was coming from Guarantee Trust Bank, and I was going to be posted. I was like, cool, that's fine. But I tell you, Keith and Marlon, when my posting came, I was posted to Chevron. And when I told her, she was shocked. She said, how did you do it? Your name, we didn't give your name to them. And I said, I don't know. What I'm trying to point out is the power of the tongue and the mind. What you think comes into existence. If you think today you can't make it to this place, you won't. But if you sit down today and tell yourself, I will make it to that place, then you definitely will. It's all about in our mind and in our tongue. And I made it. And to be honest with you, that has been the start of my career. From that very moment, I realized, and that's why I'm very careful these days with what I say, because I realize that whatever you say is very powerful, and it might actually affect you positively or negatively.
Great point there. And I definitely agree with the, positive thinking thoughts into reality. I wanted, again, to touch on your background, because I do think that where you're from as well does have a lot to do with just like, what's instilled in you from like an early time period. So, can you talk to us a little bit about growing up in Nigeria and what you love about Nigeria? And then afterwards, like, what you would hope can change in that African giant within the next 10 years?
Well, I mean, I am proudly Nigerian again, and I always say this anywhere, any day, any time. I happen to come from a family where my parents traveled a lot while, we were kids, because my dad was a very top immigration individual, and so we had the opportunity. However, Nigeria has always been a place where, we grew up in, and I know there were good times, there were bad times. But one thing that my father always told me is that your home will always be your home. No matter where you go to, always remember where you come from. So I wouldn't really say I had a very tough growing up. Tough time growing up. But I've seen a couple of challenges, I would say in my own adult life personally. So I cannot really talk about, so bad times growing up as a kid. But yes, I had a fantastic time growing up. That's just it in a nutshell.
I didn't really mean any kind of hardship stories at this point. Like more so what did you love about Nigeria? What do you love about it?
Oh yeah.
And in terms of with any place, even if you might say it's the most powerful country in the world, America has problems. I could reel off loads of them right now, and what I would hope can change in the next 10 years. That's what I mean. You telling us from your experience now as an adult what you would hope can change for Nigeria to lead Africa, and as well, what did you love about it growing up?
So I think I love the fact that Nigeria is such a family-oriented kind of place. We love people. We're very welcoming. With so much corruption, though, which I believe that we as young people are the future and should be able to change that narrative. All right. I've been an advocate of saying that in the next 5 to 10 years, young people should be able to rise up to lead the country. And I'm one person throwing my heart into the ring and saying that I want to come into that ring of a leadership to be able to change the narrative. Okay. Now, with so much things going on, you find out that in Nigeria till today, you still have, power issues. I mean, this is 2020, and a country like Nigeria that is the giant of Africa with so much wealth, 20%. Okay, we have entrepreneurs growing at 20% annually, which is the biggest anywhere in the world. You have people becoming millionaires every single year in Nigeria. However, we're still battling with bad roads, and this has been right from time. You cannot really travel from point A to point B easily. So I really believe that the people who can change Nigeria as a country is myself and all the people out there, the youth, the young people. We should be able to rise up to change the narrative. We've seen how other world have operates. We've seen how, other leaders, especially in the UAE, how true leadership has been able to transform the country itself. And even during this pandemic, you can see how things were being handled. No place in the world had handled the pandemic issues the way the UAE did. And what does that show you? It shows you a true leadership, good leadership. So by the time that we as individual young people can actually realize and understand that, look, it is time for us to come out. We should forget about being scared or anything. No, it is time for us to actually rise up and get things right in that country as Nigeria. From way back that I know, trust me, Nigeria has been probably worst right now. It is in the worst place at the moment. Before, maybe we could maybe at least leave a little bit, there was a little bit safety, but right now it's worse. You can't even be safe in your own country. A couple of weeks ago, I lost a brother to Boko Haram. He was killed, he was shot. He was shot. And I can't understand why our government keeps betraying their own citizens. You cannot, the money given for this military people to be able to fight this, terrorist group, it's being taken into someone else's pocket. So how can we move as a country? We need new set of leaders to be able to change this whole concept and narrative and corruption issues that we have that has eaten deeply into our society.
Man. Hey, my condolences, our condolences to your friend. I'm very shocked because I thought Boko Haram was dissipated. I thought it was gone. Wow. So let's transition, man. You being a leader in the African market for Artem Capital. Tell us about financial literacy, why it's important to you to educate people in the continent as well as the diaspora about financial literacy. I mean, that's a no-brainer question, but please give us your perspective.
Heath, I tell you one reason why I've taken up finance as a career is simply to liberate my people, all right? And I'm very, my words are really, really strong on that aspect because I do know that there are so many issues around the world, especially when you carry a passport coming from Africa, Nigeria, right, most especially, all right? Today I walk into a bank in, let's say maybe Monaco, all right? And I want to open a bank account, okay? I'm a clean business individual. But they tell me, oh, sorry, we can't open your bank account. You have to wait for 2-3 weeks. However, a guy from, again, nothing against anyone, but a guy, let's say from India or somewhere, walks into that same bank, all right? And probably has criminal records, but he still gets the opportunity of having an account in 48 hours. So what I have seen, I told myself, I said, no, I need to be able to be in the system to educate my people, to tell them how they can actually improve their finances. That's one. Help them provide funding for projects. Help my people in getting investors to be able to grow their business. Because we can only help ourselves. Nobody else can come to Africa and you really think that he wants to help you. No. People only come to take.
Right.
They do not come to give. They come to take. So when you talk about finance, then our people have to be the same people that should help each other. So we need people like myself and other people to be able to educate other people about saving plans, about insurance policies, about international investments, about investor program, about investing their funds in the continent itself. And I'm happy that I've been opportune to at least broker a couple of, deals here and there for investments to remain in Africa, which is the most important thing as far as I'm concerned, that we should all do for ourselves as Africans. And of course, we're talking about Black Lives Matters all around the world, and we're talking about in America that Black businesses are not really being encouraged, they don't get loans, and so on and so forth. But trust me, the Black man needs to understand that they are the only ones who can help themselves at this time. And until we show the world that we can do it, the world would always think that we need them to get to where we're going to. Mm-hmm. And I watched this movie, I think, is it The Banker or something? And, if I recall, The Banker, where two Black guys, I think they had to go open a bank in Texas. And just because the people in the community found out that the bank was owned by Black people, those funds, they started withdrawing out their money.
Right.
But we need to support ourselves. We need to support Black business. We need to support investment in Africa. We need to grow Africa as a continent.
Hey, I want to stay there real quick with Artem Capital. Okay, so your job is VP of Africa. Tell us some of the success stories, and maybe one or two, and then a barrier that you have in really getting the people in the continent aware of financial literacy and where they need to go.
So as Artem Capital, again, what we do is we specialize in citizenship by investment programs. One of the success stories I would say is that before I joined Artem Capital, we had no business in Africa. We were never Africa focused. And so when I went to join the company, I went with what you call the African dream. And it was really funny because a lot of people always hear about the American dream, but not the African dream. So when I got in there, I said, we're going to change something. And in that way, we were able to get some very good investors from Africa to tell them that, look, if you were worried about your investment sticking in Africa, or you have mobility issues, this is how we can help. And we were able to present to them what you call the global citizenship investment strategies, whereby you invest through the foreign direct investment, FDIs, in other regions, and you are able to acquire a passport to allow you travel freely across the world. All right? So we as a company are not directly into investment in Africa, but rather we assist individuals to be able to obtain a second passport so they can be able to travel, do business, and have a better mobility strategies or standard for themselves.
So are you saying that a billionaire in Nigeria cannot travel?
He can't. And it's very funny because
God, that's insane.
Yes, you cannot. You need to go into an embassy to get a visa. Sometimes you need to stay a week or 2 weeks to get that visa. So imagine if you have a deal in London and you're stuck in Nigeria and you have just 3 days or 2 days to go sign that deal. Okay, you are a multi-billionaire, but then one thing restricts you: you cannot fly. You have the jet waiting for you at the airport, but you don't have the passport to fly with. And you have to go through the embassy, and you have to spend at least 5 days in the case of United Kingdom. For you, right. Or maybe 3 days now. Now they have 3 days. But you can imagine the time being wasted. You can imagine yourself having to go to the embassy to go through those screening, and to shock you, some people still get rejected.
Okay. Yeah. So I went through, my wife is from Ethiopia, and we had to do her, the visa for America, right? Her residence visa. Mm-hmm. And it took about maybe 6 months. But in that 6 months, I heard stories. I was on Google. I was hearing all this. Is there a governing body dealing with some of the, for lack of better words, racism or, you know, in passport or immigration, if you want to call it that? Not immigration, but immigration. Is there some type of like organization that addresses some of this?
Well, there is none. I would say the only organization will be the United Nations, right? And United Nations actually clearly states that every individual has a right to a second citizenship. We all have rights to that. But in general, there is no particular organization that put all these things in checks. There's none, apart from, I would say, the United Nations, which of course is the governing body of the world, in general.
A couple questions regarding African passports. Number one, what's the most popular country in Africa that's looking for second citizenship that you've seen? What's the most popular passport out there in general in terms of the country that's offering second citizenship that people are signing up for regularly and that you recommend? And then something quite important to me. I have an American citizenship, but very Pan-African minded, and I would love to see an African country actually have a strong passport. Is there anywhere that's in talks about that, be it Seychelles or Mauritius or Cape Verde?
Yeah, so basically I would start with the first question, and to answer, it's Nigeria, okay? Nigerians are known for traveling. We love to travel. We always want to move around the world. So when you talk about the country that is very popular for applying for the second citizenship, it's generally Nigeria. Nigerians love to. And I know that from 2016 till date, we've done probably more than 500 Nigerian applications. We've actually processed more than 500 applications, which is huge. In numbers. Now, most of them, again, would go for a passport program and not a residency program, because these are two different things. You have the residency and you have the passport program. Now, the passport program are mainly for those who just want to be able to travel, and that just like the billionaires we're talking about with Heath, someone who really, really want to just get on the flight, go do his business and come back. Now, because this program isn't for people who are more or less a low-income individuals. So you find out that the number, it's not that big, because you need to be able to display a minimum income of at least 100,000 US dollars, or even 3, 4, 5 million euros or dollars when it comes to some certain programs. So it's not basically for everyone. But however, we see a lot of them going towards the Caribbean islands like Grenada, like Antigua and Barbuda. And currently we're seeing programs in Europe like Montenegro. We're also seeing programs in Cyprus and Portugal as well. So these are basically the popular countries that that actually a lot of people would go for. Now, when you talk about which of the country, probably there are talks. Yes, we've been talking to like Mauritius as well as Seychelles, because these are the two African countries that have very strong passport. A Mauritius passport or a Seychelles passport can actually take you to over 120 countries visa-free, which is as powerful as a European passport. All right, it's a very small island. We actually also tried to talk to Ghana, and mainly for Ghana, it's because we wanted to see that other people who are Africans but do not have an African passport and wants to identify themselves to be Africans. You can see last year, Ludacris got a passport. I think Idris Elba also got a passport from one of those, I can't remember which of the countries. But you see a lot of people, Black people from other parts of the world are now saying we want to identify ourselves as Africans. We want to be called, hey, I'm from Ghana, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Kenya, I'm from, Uganda. So what we as a company have been trying to do is to see how we can speak to other countries to tell them, look, you can actually create a program whereby you can allow other people from other parts of the world to come in and apply and also be called Africans. Thereby, this is the investment we're talking about now coming into Africa. Because at the moment, there's a lot of investment going outside of Africa. But imagine if $2 billion can be generated through this program in Africa annually.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a $20 billion industry.
Yeah. Would you call that like a repatriation passport?
Well, I wouldn't call it a repatriation passport. But I'll call it still a global citizen passport, because the word repatriation means it's a little bit, I don't want to use the word repatriation, it's like for some stranded person or something, but no, I would still want to call it a global citizen passport.
Hey, brother, African American and Caribbeans are stranded. They are a stranded people, and like that is how we feel like a lot of us.
What we need to do, and again, and I'm ready to lead that delegation, is to tell the African leaders that you should open your doors, your borders to your brothers. The same brothers who were taken from your soil, the same brothers of yours and sisters of yours that your leaders in the past sold. You should open your doors to them. You should be able to welcome them. You should be able to allow them identify themselves as citizens of that country. Whether be it Kenya, Tanzania, wherever. We should do that. And that's why I don't want to call it a repatriation passport. I want it to be that someone here, for example, is American, you should be able to walk into Nigeria today and tell them, guys, I am black. I want to be Nigerian. And you should be accepted. You should be accepted. Imagine the amount of contribution that other black people around the world can bring into Africa if only their doors are open and they accept them. So much knowledge, so much initiative, so much innovation can be developed in Africa.
Yeah. You know what I just thought about? People like myself, I'm one person in the diaspora who, would go back, as Habila, I went back last December, where I went to Ghana for the first time. But the Caribbean person or the first generation, I just thought about this, the first generation or second generation immigrant in the West, whether it be Canada or the USA or the UK, they don't really have a home because because their parents or their parents' parents came from Africa. So they don't really have that connection, and they're walking around with a blue passport as well. So they're not as connected, just as much as I'm not as connected.
Yeah, but you see, this is where you have the power of the internet, of media, okay? If you really want to be connected, you will be. Yes, I don't believe that people just don't want to identify themselves with, a certain place. You need to have, again, it's all about the mindset, Heath. Forget about your 4 or 5 generations or this or that. No, as long as you carry that mind as an African, you should be able to be rooted, to be connected, to understand this history. I know that there are so many issues with, especially for example, in America, where a lot of people don't, young people don't really know the history. They don't even know the story. They think Africa is some forest, some bush. Right. As a matter of fact, maybe they think lions just walk on the street. There are no cars on the road. Maybe some, tigers or some giraffes just cross the street. A lot of them actually think that way about Africa, by the way.
Right.
All right? But they don't know that this same continent where actually their forefathers or their grandfathers come from is as developed in as civilized as the America or the London or the wherever, Manchester or the Italy that they're talking about. The only thing that has killed us as Africans, and I go back to it again, is corruption. The fact that we are not our brother's keepers. And it is hard to say it, but it's the truth that we are not our brother's keepers. Why do you think an African will say, oh, I'm from West Africa, or I'm from East Africa, or I'm from North Africa? Have you ever heard a European tell you that he is from Southern Europe?
Right.
It's difficult, very rare. They say Europe is Europe. So Africa should be Africa.
Yeah, I think the voices for that is getting louder, Habila, and it does take brothers like yourself, shows like Global Brothers Podcast, to really amplify that Pan-African sentiment. Like obviously we didn't start it. It's like been around since Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, and others. But it does take new media, as you mentioned. We have the media. There's no reason for us to have our hands over our ears or like over our eyes. We have the ability to see and hear what's out there. Now it's just for us to take it in, but also for continental Africans to share the good news about what's going on in Africa today. Yeah. We can't just assume that the West and our Western brothers in diaspora are just going to understand that, oh, right, okay, so it's not what we hear about on Western media about just safari, because that's pretty much all you hear about Africa in Western media. Safari, safari, safari.
Yeah, and hungry children. They show you hungry kids.
Absolutely.
Kids that flies just, well, you see, there are the good stories.
Yeah.
There are the good stories like, we have someone like, I can't remember his name, but one of the guys who actually owns 2 airports, Ogunlesi, a Nigerian man owning 2 airports in the United Kingdom. Okay? As a matter of fact, this is the same man who has hired the former World Bank president. He hired him. This is the good story we're talking about. Okay? Coming out of Africa.
Wow.
Talk about Ethiopia. The emperor, Selassie it's like a god. And I tell you what, till today, I happened to meet one of his great grandsons, and till today, that family is being, the English royal family still serve the Selassie family. They still serve them.
Yeah.
They carry their bags.
Yeah, there's a photo. I was in Ethiopia in March. And I was at Selassie's house. Okay, it's a museum. I wasn't having dinner, but in his museum was a big photo of Queen Elizabeth and I don't know who else it was, but they were kneeling to him at his feet.
Oh yes, and it happens till today. It's no stories. No, I'm not kidding. It still happens till today. The royalty in Ethiopia is one of the most powerful one in the world.
Right.
It's one of the most powerful one in the world. And they still, I'm telling you, but you see what has happened. And this is why, again, we have to really, with, a platform like yours, we need to really project the stories, the good stories, that Africa is great. It is rich. We can be the world power. And when I go for seminars and I hear people say, Africa is the next world power, I said, no, you're getting it wrong. It is the world power.
Right.
And people look at me and I'm like, yes, because every one of you go to Africa to take diamonds, gold, oil. These are people. People, exactly.
Take people.
People.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a continent that is as powerful, but what do we need? We need to be our brother's keepers. We need to come together as well. We need to unite. We need to forget about the barriers of you're from here, you're from there. And we need to do the right thing. That is it. We need to stop the mentality of fast money making. Just one thing that has killed us as Africans. Fast money making.
I love segues, Habila. Like right there with that concept of fast money making and like what's been holding us down as be it like our leaders, that are in these trusted positions. I was going to ask you, like, speak on generational wealth, because I think that concept really eludes a lot of old school African mentality of just like, oh, I'll take a little bit today, as opposed to think about what you're giving me this little bit of money for. How much are you getting? Yeah. We never really like considered those aspects of things in terms of African leadership. So talk to us about generational wealth and like how really we can help to change the mindsets of like young Africans, like to think about this, not just today.
You see, the thing is, the young people now, they need to understand that it's not about driving fancy cars and living in fancy houses or buying a house in Monaco or wherever. No. When you talk about generational wealth, you also have to look at the continent itself. Where are you putting that money? Do I want to invest $1 million, $2 million that I have earned all through my life in Africa so that my children and my great-grandchildren can enjoy it? What about building schools? Because you can't talk about wealth when there is no education. And that's the reason why you don't really see generational wealth in Africa. When you go down to India, you have it. Indians that have migrated from India to even Africa in Kenya, you find out that he would tell you, oh, I'm the 5th generation. This money was my great-great-great-grandfather's wealth. This company was owned by my great-great-great-great-grandfather. But what has happened to us as Africans is that we just want to eat today, and that's it. And this is why we steal. This is why we steal from each other. This is why we rob each other. But we need to start investing in our society. We need to start investing in our people. We need to start remembering that let us do this today so that tomorrow our family, our children, the generations to come can enjoy from it. Again, I'm using UAE as an example. This is what, the former leader who passed away actually wanted to leave for them, a legacy, so that they can enjoy it for as many years as they can. But remember again, Marlon, when you talk about generational wealth, we should also remember about who takes over. What is the mindset of that individual taking over? What are we doing? What are we teaching the young people today? What am I teaching my daughter? What are you teaching your son? What are you teaching, your younger brother? What are we teaching them today? Are we teaching them that, look, you have to save for the rainy day? Or are we teaching them that let's eat today and enjoy our life? Life is good. It's fine.
Like that. Yeah. Mindset, mentality, and yeah, tomorrow's another day, and it's more than just us.
It's more than just us. It's more than about the future. And each day when I sit down, I tell myself, I want to own a company whereby I want to die and leave it for my children, for my great-grandchildren. And I want those kids to know that I actually worked hard to keep this for them, so right. They should also work hard to keep that for their own children.
Right.
So, so this is it. The mindset, the mind. We have to teach. We have to teach. We have to teach.
You know what I find as well, Habila, in like a lot of these colonizer countries, be it the UK, France, etc. Look how proud they are of their institutions. Yeah, people say this is good because it's French. This wine is good because it's French. They'll say this handbag is good because it's British. They'll say this car is good because it's Italian. As Africans, we need to start saying this is good because it's African. So even greater than just the singular family structure of generational wealth, we need to start considering the continental structure of generational wealth as well.
Of course. Tell me, have you ever heard of any automobile company coming out of Africa. You have Toyota in Asia, right? You have a GMC in America. You have a BMW in Mercedes-Benz in Germany.
There's assembly plants in Africa, and I think the closest one to something being manufactured in Africa is a company out of Ghana called Kantanka.
No, but that's the problem. We don't want to have an assembly center.
Right.
We should have an automobile production. Companies. The way we have oil producing companies. But do you know what's funny about even the oil producing companies? We drill this crude, especially in Nigeria, by the way, okay? We drill it, we sell it, and then we buy petrol, we buy fuel and gas and kerosene back at a higher cost, by the way. But remember, you actually sold the main product. So what happened to you fixing your refinery? It doesn't take you more than, I'm telling you, it doesn't take you more than $10 million, $20 million, okay, to build a standard refinery. I've been involved in financing a couple of refineries around the world, and I know how much it costs. I do know that Dangote is building, I think, about $2 billion, a refinery for what's about $2 billion. And that would be probably one of the biggest and the largest.
In the world, I heard. How close is this to fruition? And even beyond that, like, what's the, do you know any inside information on like the ambitions for it? Is it like to help all of Africa in terms of, Ghana has oil, like Angola, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes. This is basically his plan. His plan is that he wants to be the hub, okay? And instead of us selling oil to Europe, crude to Europe and buying at a very expensive price rate, you just have to just take it just right there. It's just from Ghana to Nigeria is probably 2-3 hours or whatever, or 4 hours. And you get your refined product and you buy cheaper. I was planning on setting up a simulator company in Lagos to be the first simulator center across West Africa. All right? And when I did a survey, I found out that so many people were interested. A lot of the airlines in Nigeria were signing up already even before the simulator arrives in Lagos. Because you know what the opportunity I had given them? The fact you can pay me in the local currency.
Yeah.
You don't need to pay. I asked them, they said, oh, we spend around $60,000 every 6 months on each pilot, flying him to London or to South Africa to get into a simulator, because you have to get into a simulator every 6 months. It's compulsory, standard for pilots. You have to go into a simulator. But I'm telling them, I'm ready to give you at $40,000, and I want you to pay me in Naira. That is what we're talking about. Opportunity. Provide the opportunities. That money is there. Yeah. Why are we buying? Why are we spending so much time and talking about how we can change the continent where the answers are right in our hands?
Right there, yeah.
Answers are right there.
So I'm glad you're on that. This actually segues perfectly into the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. What needs to be done there? What needs to be refined in order for that to work successfully?
Unifying the system. And it's as simple as that. We need to unify our system. We need to allow free movement within the continent, okay? There can never be a free trade agreement as long as people cannot move freely. And a simple example is we are talking about having an African Union passport, all right? But even the few people that have those African Union passports flew and they were told, sorry, we don't recognize this passport within Africa. So it is easy for President Paul Kagame to come up and say free trade. You know why? Because he has opened his borders. He has seen the advantage of opening his borders. The GDP of Rwanda has moved from probably nothing to something today. Yeah. Ever since he launched that visa free. the amount of investment coming in. And let me tell you, I've had so many inquiries from Europeans telling me, can you help us get a Rwandan passport?
Yeah. How about Malawi? Same situation?
Same situation in Malawi. Malawi, as a matter of fact, yes, you can go into Malawi easily. It's not that difficult to get into Malawi. However, there are security challenges in countries like Malawi. So we need to be able to treat all this. And again, I talked about the health aspect of it. Do we have a unified health insurance? All right? There is none. There is none. There is none. So for Africa to be able to talk about free trade, yeah, it's a fantastic idea. I know that all these things I'm talking about are inside whatever the recommendation. But you see, those things are things that were being talked about before the Africa Trade Agreement came about. And those things were not treated. So how do you think that you can make this work now that you have the free trade agreement? It's going to be almost impossible to achieve this. So again, the only way this can work out is unifying the continent.
Okay, so when you say unify the continent, and I'm gonna go back to December, okay, where I had my eyes open, looking over the Cape Coast, looking over the ocean, in Accra, just, crying every 5 minutes, just really, really loving Ghana, right? And the same has happened my 2 trips to Ethiopia, okay? Just breathing the air feels good. I have a question for you, and please take your time with this one. If Africa is not unified, where does that leave the diaspora in regards to us coming in, adding value, making an impact? How is that going to actualize if Africa's not unified?
As you can see right now, like again, our doors are not open, right? And so people who are
it's not easy.
Okay?
It's not easy.
Yeah. So people who are outside, as a matter of fact, do not even feel welcome. Okay? Things are not working right now in Africa, and we need to say it the way it is. We shouldn't sugarcoat it.
Right.
But what you have just said is a very, very valid point. If Africa do not unify, where does that leave the diaspora? And it means that I would remain stuck where I am. And I would say, no, I don't want the stress. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want the whole headache. I rather put my efforts in where I am appreciated and I feel safe.
Right.
Than where I would go to and I don't feel safe. And because I am trying to do a good thing, someone is even threatening my life. But that happens.
Right. So a lot of, like myself, educators in the UAE, right? All right. We've been to dinner. I mean, we know you've seen crowd full of educators. And most are of African descent, whether they be from the UK, Canada, or America, or the Caribbean. Can you imagine if we took that intellectual property into African schools?
It will be, I don't know how to put it, but we would have probably we would have the best education system in the world. But
we're here, brother. So I talked to you when I got back from Ghana in December. We talked a little bit on WhatsApp. And I can remember telling you that I was going to go to Ghana for a month in February.
Yes.
I couldn't get in, man. My visa was there. I was ready to go back. I mean, I did a year visa, so I'm still able to go anytime. But I couldn't connect. I was sending emails out into ministries of education and schools and private schools and public schools, and I was trying to get responses. And even our brother Morris Sinclair is on the line. He was trying to work with me to help me get back to Ghana. I was going to spend an entire month and really dig deep into their education system. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get a response.
The thing is, some of these guys don't even read emails.
I heard that.
They don't even read emails. So you can imagine where we are. All right, we're still probably in the 1990s, probably. They don't read emails. You send an email waiting for a reply, and you say this is why even jobs, it's difficult to find jobs in Africa. You apply for a job and all, because they don't even, it's all about someone taking your hand and taking you to the owner or whoever that person is to give you a job. But it don't
getting a finder's fee from it.
Yeah, of course. So you can see where we are as Africa. But how can we change this? How can we change this? And this is where investors needs to come in, smart investors, to put up what you call a smart education system. Get rid of the old school people who don't even have qualifications are teaching in schools in Africa. Okay, so how do we expect the next generation to actually be strong enough to match the global trend? When in Africa, there are no simple computers for a child to educate or equip himself for the future. Yeah. Did you ask yourself, like, just imagine how we were able to pass through this pandemic period in Africa, okay? Mm-hmm. With work from home and school from home. In my head, I was thinking, how can Nigeria navigate online schooling? First of all,
or social distancing.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Because first of all, internet is not as easy as it is. You can't just have easy internet. So how? So these are the issues that Africa needs to fix. And these are basic things we need to provide to our people. Basic things. Invest in smart education. Be able to bring in people in the diaspora that can change this narrative. But the reason why they won't do this is because they fear you and I. Mm. They're not going to let me and you come in because we'll say, no, this is wrong. They want to steal. They want to spoil things. And this is us.
Yeah.
This is us.
It reminds me of the term saboteur in a person who sabotages. But the saboteur likes confusion and chaos so they can continue stealing and they can continue being who they are.
Yep. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So they want it to be, the corruption is actually the system. I learned that. And of course, this isn't to belabor the point. We want to move on from this. But when I was in Ethiopia in March, I met with a couple educators while I was there. I was there 15 days, so it was a little bit of time to meet with some people. And even those educators, we were going around to a few sites, and then we went to the ministry. And even they told me that, well, you have to meet with this person in order to meet with this person, and then that person in order to meet with that person. And this person is going to ask you for money. I'm like, what? And that's the system. Like, that's the structure.
It is. It's all about money. It's all about money. And you see, that's what we're told when Mao talks about generational wealth, right? We don't think about that. We think about what we want to get right now. I don't care if what you are actually bringing to the table is something that will help everyone. No, they don't think about it that way. And this is why, for you to get to that person, you have to go through this person, that person, that person. And probably everyone would ask you for something.
As a, I'm listening to all this, and it does remind me a lot about like the Pan-African groups that I'm in that are supposed to be about lifting Africa. Now, I know that, yes, we have to be realistic, but to be honest, I think that my background has helped me be and continue to be idealistic. I realize how many problems and issues that there can be, but like I'm so much like someone that just considers solutions and what can we do to make it right. So I just want to bring up this this one example, like before we move on to the next question, of a friend of mine She was in the entertainment business here in Dubai and doing, quite well and successful in terms of booking like American artists, international artists, and you're doing quite well within that. She decided, just like a internal thing, I need to be in Africa. So she looked around at what was needed, and she said, okay, well, roads are being fixed up in some places. She chose Ghana, and within that, she started doing an automotive business. She didn't know anything about cars, zero. No one she knows didn't know cars at all, like etc. She decided to do batteries and tires, things that cars need. So she started looking into international suppliers. Then she found out that in America, they were giving certain loans during the Obama era to actually do businesses within Africa for African Americans. She took advantage of that loan scheme, which obviously is directed directly to Africa. So she got a little bit of loan to do that. So she didn't have to depend on banks in Africa or banks in the UAE, etc. So that's one solution that she found to the issue. Secondly, she started talking directly to the mechanics and also the local people. She found out local people didn't trust mechanics in the villages or even in Accra. And the reason what she kept on hearing is because they would fix their car and then it would break down a few weeks, even a month later, etc. Turns out, talking to the mechanics on the other side, two sides to every story, right? The mechanics didn't have diagnostic equipment. So same thing like you mentioned, Habila, with the aviation simulators, whereas you get better training, the mechanics didn't have diagnostic systems to actually test the cars before they put them out the door. So then she said, okay, let me get a diagnostic system in here. She got one in there. Now she's training mechanics on the diagnostic system, and then they're becoming her customers and buying batteries and brake pads and these kind of things. And people are starting to trust mechanics again. So this is just one small example of diaspora coming to Africa, looking at a business to do, partnering with the local community, not pretending they know more than everybody else, but finding out the problem, partnering with the local community, and then developing something around that. And no one from the government has stepped in and said, hey, no, you're making money, you can't do that. So I want us to see that there's also a silver lining as well.
Of course. And I think I would encourage every entrepreneur that is outside of Africa to look at really going back home in investing in the people there. I'm really passionate about that, about investing in African business, African-owned business, putting in money in Africa. But again, you can't reach out to everyone, and that is why we have friends who can always talk to assist in going back to develop a lot of businesses for other people. Because trust me, the ideas are there. The ideas are there. We just need that opportunity. And the banks are not even helping matters in Africa. No. The interest loan rate in Nigeria is around 23 or maybe 25%.
Forget about banks.
Okay? So we need individual money, individuals' investment into that continent.
And Heath and I, talk often as well about education as a business. So we can't just look at it from a humanitarian and charitable mindset of kids need education. We have to look at it as a business and sustainable business model to go in as educators and business people and develop it with the community.
Yeah, I think I had this chat with Heath sometime, and I told him, I said, I think Heath and Dion, we had this chat one time, if you recall, and what I said was, you guys are just too smart and intelligent. And when I hear Heath speaks, I'm like, okay. How can we transform education into proper business?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
However, we need to also have something in mind that this education needs to be affordable.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I talk about something, I always look at how can the less privileged benefit from it. It is very important that even though, yes, we're going in as, business people trying to put the structure together and bring up the best schools you can think of to run it as a business, we also need to think about the people down there. How can they access education?
Right. So I brought up Malawi because I'm on an advisory board. I guess I can throw this out there now. Marlon knows. I'm on an advisory board for an American school in Malawi. I'm actually going to be an investor as well. So, and I'm opening up a school here now.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that, and I'm really interested in Rwanda and Ethiopia as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are areas where, as you said, that human capital that we possess, once we collaborate, once we just literally put our heads together, physically, just put them together, and we can accomplish so much in the continent. The price point, I would even think that people in the diaspora would donate, right? Crowdfund and get it started.
Invest.
And then we can, of course,
invest.
I mean,
we're donate.
Of course, I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but we're currently raising, and I'm leading a delegation raising $1 million for camps in Tanzania. Okay, and there are refugee camps, 2 refugee camps in Tanzania. What we're trying to do, we want to build schools in there. We want to create sport facilities. Those people in the refugee camps are humans.
Right.
Okay. So if there are investment, people talking, how about we think about impact investment?
Right.
Impact investment.
Right.
Being able to invest in areas like that. So how can we bring in money, personal funds to Malawi, to build schools in Malawi, to improve education in Malawi, so that even the common man can access?
Yeah, and I think the UAE being such a great, having great leadership and so many different educational programming institutions or whatever, the thing that's lacked here, and I'm learning this as a founding principle now, is it's a haves and have-nots capitalistic thing here, right? So our price point is positioned to get a certain socioeconomic level or group of people. And then we're looking at schools that are 80, 90,000 dirhams per kid, and the kid is 5 years old.
Oh yeah.
And that's insane.
It's insane. I know how much I pay for my 4-year-old. It is insane. But look, this is what it is here. I mean, in the UAE, it's all about business. Okay.
Yeah.
And people are putting their money because, again, you have that class of people in the society here, all right? And people can afford to pay. And of course, if you do want to give your child a good education, then you need to be able to cough out $60,000 to $80,000 dirhams from your pocket every year.
Yeah.
For a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old.
That's the minimum too, by the way.
That's the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, for a good school.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that you're spending even probably more than what the child would spend going to university.
Yeah.
But
well, of course, because if you start at pre-K or KG, that's K through 12. That's 60,000 dirhams a year, K through 12, and it increases as the kid matriculates up.
Yeah, it increases. It
Yeah.
increases. Probably need to take that similar mindset probably to Africa. Maybe that would also improve the education a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe this point can lead to that. What are your thoughts on remittances that are already coming in from diaspora Africans that are living outside now, as well as the power of the black dollar and the black pound? This stronger movement that's building momentum within African Americans and Black British as well. What are your thoughts on that money actually pooling together within the continent to be able to have directed investment? Let me set that up with another point. If there was clear, transparent things to invest in, I know obviously people that know you can go to you and say, Habila, what can I invest in if they have the funds? But also, even like some basic investments. I have $5,000. Yeah, I'm not a multimillionaire, but I have this much. Can I partner together with others that have small dollar amounts and build our black dollar, build our black pound, and invest in X thing that's managed by professionals on the continent? Where are those opportunities?
I think so. I think that the issue here is the fact that we do not have, for example, Africa-focused funds. Okay, let me use the word now. Back to finance. I do know that there are Euro bonds and blah blah blah. Where, of course, if you have $5,000, $2,000, of course, 5, 10 people, whatever you can put, and then this is how, of course, Europe has been built. However, in Africa, it is difficult. You then need to look for probably companies that are looking for, they call it, is it seed capitals or seed investment, something like that, whereby you can come with whatever you have and invest in the company and get 1% or 2%. Okay? Now, I know of a guy who started a helicopter Uber business in Lagos.
Wow.
He looked at the issue of traffic and he said, if I can provide helicopter at $100, you ride the helicopter from point A to point B, just $100. I should be able to solve a lot of issue when it comes to traffic for people and time management. So what he did was to reach out to so many people across the world, so many Nigerians, and other African people from Kenya, from wherever, and told them, I have this investment here. I want to start a chopper business that is going to run just the way you have Uber for as low as $100. He didn't have a dime, by the way, when he started this idea. He didn't have no money. But then friends and people who believed in that dream came together, put in $5,000, $2,000, this, that. And today he's actually growing.
How long did it take him to get started? I'll tell you why in a minute.
Well, it took him a while, trust me, because he had to do a lot of feasibility studies to be able to even ascertain that this would work. Number one, he also look at the fact that we don't even have very good choppers, helicopters in Nigeria. So you can imagine the amount of due diligence you have to run on the companies that will provide you helicopters, because he doesn't have helicopters, but he has the platform where if today you order, just like Uber doesn't really have cars. People have cars registered with Uber.
Right.
Okay? So imagine he had to put all this together. I think it took him probably a year. He quitted his job and he said, you know what? When he got it right, he said, this is right. We're going to do it. And he closed out the first phase of investment. I recall someone wanted to invest some money in it. He said, no, I'm done. Seed funding. Seed funding.
So have you ever been to Cape Coast?
No.
Okay. So from Accra, Ghana to Cape Coast, it's about,
I think
2.5 hours.
2 hours, yeah. I've heard of this.
2 hours. Yeah, we were in a van, so 2.5 hours if you stop. And it's a grueling ride. It's especially in a van. It's not that comfortable. And I thought about a helicopter going from Accra, a tourism helicopter, going from Accra back and forth.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe that people come to Accra, they fly in, and then they drive 2.5 hours up and 2.5 hours back. And I was thinking they have to do something about this.
Of course. So these are the initiatives we're talking about here. So you are now thinking about it. Think about putting that structure together with $0. But with people like myself, Marlon, and all your friends around saying, you know what, I think we can do this. We're going to put in $2,000. We're going to put in $5,000. I'm going to put in $10,000. Okay?
Yeah.
Just think about having, let's say you want $100,000 capital to start.
Right.
You don't need these choppers. All what you need is to pass the accreditation of all the aviation checks and every other thing that you need to do, regulatory standards. Make sure you pass this stuff. You sign up, and I'm sure that there are so many other chopper companies in Accra, but they don't use it for what do you call it? Taking people to Cape Coast and all that.
Tourism.
Tourism.
So this, let me tell you, Cape Coast can be Miami. Seriously. Like that stretch of, I don't know how long kilometers, that stretch of oceanfront is so beautiful. The difference between Cape Coast and Miami is the storms and the hurricanes and the natural disasters go the opposite direction. They don't hit Mother Africa, as you know, as a Nigerian. They don't come that way. The Gulf Stream goes the other way, or okay. So I'm thinking that whole strip, maybe Nigeria as well, I haven't seen the coast, is prime property.
It is. It is. I don't know if you've heard of the Eco Atlantic in Lagos. Eco Atlantic, it's gonna be when it's done, probably one of the best places and the most expensive, in the world. I do know that there are apartments that are going for maybe $5 million to rent annually.
Who's the investors? Where are they from?
So many people. So many people here and there.
Here and there.
Yeah, but of course, Eco Atlantic would be, and I do hope that they can actually complete that project. But I see that project being one of the prime locations in the world. You go to Lagos again, there's what you call the Banana Island, right? Trust me, there are houses there. You think you're just in Palm Beach, Miami, with the kind of houses there. And probably maybe even more expensive.
Right.
So we can actually develop those regions. And I'm glad that you're saying this, because I think people just go and see and they cry about, the those stuff about the slavery and all and leave.
Right.
But we, again, in as much as we want history to remain, we want development. We don't want to keep crying about, they took us 2,000 years ago. They put chains in our hands.
Yeah.
We need to move on from there. And think about, you know what? This is where they picked us. No, we want them to come back and see that we're living even better than they are living. It's not about competition, but it's the fact that we need to make a point that Africa is great.
Amazing. It's amazing. And, it's funny because Morris knows this. I was on a business trip, man. I was there to really feel Africa, but I was looking at, like you said, impact investment.
Of course. So
my whole lens was what is needed, what's needed, and we'll fill that need.
And when Ghana was talking about the year of return, I said one thing to them. I said, how are you monetizing your year of return? Because there are people with millions of dollars. Name them: Steve Harvey, Jay-Z, Usher Raymond, P. Diddy. These are black people, Africans, who you should be able to tell them, you know what? Why don't you come set up your Ciroc factory in Ghana? We have all the beautiful flavors you can make your Ciroc with. We can give you a tax reduction. We can give you this, we can give you that. Find a way to monetize your ideas. If you're doing a year of return, how are you monetizing it? Do you know that they made, I can't remember the money they made last year alone.
I've got it here. So Heath, do you remember during our 12 inspirational entrepreneur women, Julia Amphora, she said that she wishes the year of return was longer so that they could have implemented more investment tactics within that. And she's looking for beyond the return to be even better within that. So I just wanted to address the numbers that came out of that. I just pulled that up while we were talking. It says Ghana Tourism Authority estimates that each person who came for the year of return spent about $2,391 if that was spread across equitably. The ministry spent little more than $1 million promoting the year of return. And in total, the tourism made $3.3 billion in 2019 from
only from tourism.
So think about
only
that
from people
just
coming
tourism,
in. Yeah.
not investment, just tourism.
So imagine if they had taken, because I know Steve Harvey was there. You know, I know a lot of other big celebrities were there. I know they had Afrochella or something. So imagine if the president or whoever took that and said, guys, you know what? I have this city I want to build. I want to build a new Ghana with skyscrapers, with investment houses, with a place like a DIFC, a health city, this, that, and tell them, we can actually offer you a citizenship if only you can look at putting investment in this project. Let's make it a reality. These people would have done this. But you see, again, the problem with Africa is we get carried away so much by the little and forget about the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. If I had come up with the idea of year of return, I make sure that I monetize it 101%. Yeah. This 3 billion would have just been for something. But imagine the billions we would have gotten from showcasing investments.
Yeah. The number of visas was 58,000 visas to Ghana in 2018. In 2019, it was over 700,000 visas.
Crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So, and I paid for my visa. Well, if I could, maybe about $90 for my visa. So that was a lot of money.
Well, yeah. You know? But I mean, again, as Nigerian, I don't think it's a lot because we spend a lot of money on visas. You know, so when I hear people complain about, oh, it's too expensive, the visa is expensive, I'm like, look, as a Nigerian, if you hold a Nigerian passport, at least you would pay $150 to get a visa for Europe or something. I mean, I haven't been in that position, you know, but I know a lot of friends of mine and family members who they spend a lot of money on visas. So
and sometimes they get rejected, right?
Oh yeah, they get rejected, and your money you don't get a refund for that.
My goodness.
You don't get a refund for that.
Hey guys, a quick one. So in Abu Dhabi right now, I don't know if you guys watch MMA, but in Abu Dhabi right now, the UFC is having this thing called Fight Island. Okay, Fight Island, they've partnered with Abu Dhabi. Like they've been coming to Abu Dhabi for like the past 4 or 5 years. But with this, with like, you know, all sports, you know, being shut down in America, and they have a lot of international fighters, they've spent hundreds of millions on Fight Island, which is really Yaz Island. They didn't create a new island. It's really Yaz Island, but they put all these facilities in place to have their pay-per-view money still coming in. Abu Dhabi said this is a good idea, even though they have no fans. No one can go to watch it. We can't go watch it, even though it's Abu Dhabi. Yes, there's no fans. Abu Dhabi has done this just because it's good for tourism.
Yeah.
So you see, visibility is their main thing. People that are sharp, and like you said earlier, Habila, the leadership is sharp. So they understand what this means for Abu Dhabi as a destination. No one's going to come, but just showing that on screens all over the world, because they know that UFC has a huge reach. It has a huge reach. Why can't a place like Ghana say, you know, okay, year of return, people that come will see it, but how about we put this on screens everywhere, all over the world? Let's showcase Afrochella and Afro Nation on TV and film this live, etc., etc. Tourism needs to be shown in Africa. We need to tell our own stories, show our stories.
Right. I was surprised to hear or get to know how many people didn't know about the year of return. I don't know if the marketing wasn't on point, but year of return was more of word of mouth after a while.
Yeah,
there wasn't much out there early, and I used to tell Marlon that soon as Donald Trump won in 2016, that's when Ghana should have started their year of return campaign, sort of like Expo 2020. They should have just started hitting. Soon as he won, they should have started saying, "Let's go, come back, visit."
Yeah. I think that should have happened. But again, you know, I think again, it still goes back to who we are as Africans. We really take things for granted, and we just feel, what, let's try it and see, and well, it's okay if it's getting the traction, fine, we're okay with what we made. But this can be better. This can be better, and I just hope that other countries in Africa would follow what Ghana did and make it even much more better. I am very sure that Rwanda would also follow suit very soon. I know he's one guy who loves to be ahead, and he is ahead. If you go to Rwanda today in Kigali is like mini Dubai.
Or Singapore.
Kigali is like mini Dubai.
Yeah.
It's like mini Singapore.
Yeah.
You walk on the street without no fear at 2, 3 a.m. Nobody's going to talk to you. Nobody's going to harass you. You feel 100% safe. The roads are perfect. There are street lights everywhere. So this is what we're talking about. Good leadership.
Absolutely. I absolutely love what Rwanda is doing, and hopefully something big will come out of that. In terms of the tourism scene. We have some questions just in the chat here. People have had like a lot to say back and forth, which we're so happy for. Thank you, everybody. Our good sister Trey Lu has a comment about Nigeria. She says, since the pandemic, people that want to travel to Nigeria, are they having to be quarantined upon arrival? Do they get tested in the airport, for example? Like, how's that working with tourism going into Nigeria for business or even for leisure?
So first of all, Nigeria is not even open for anything, for business or for tourism at the moment. They're still locked. However, I think they've implemented that compulsory 14 days, that when you come in, it's either you take a test and then, which of course at the moment, that is not even in place. So it means that you have to actually isolate for 14 days when you come into Nigeria. But you can't even come at the moment because, yes, it's what you call it. There are no flights in and out of Nigeria at the moment.
Right, and I wanted to mention as well, and further to that, Abu Dhabi, UAE actually is one of the rare few places in the world that are completely open right now in terms of tourism, and the measures they've put in place, for the group, anyone else that has like a tourism question, the measures they've put in place is pretty much that you get a test in the airport. If you're fine from there, then you can come in. If there's any kind of issue, then there's the 14 days that you have to stay and obviously forfeit the money that you've spent. If you don't have time, whatever, then that's pretty much your problem because you didn't have the test before. But if you're fine, then you can pretty much have tourism just like how it was before, and all the measures are already in place here, as we see in the shopping malls, desert safaris, etc. But most other countries are not like that.
And sorry, just to answer again, you need to know that at the moment, US is on the so many blacklist for traveling. And according to the passport index, the visa free for US has dropped from 170 to about 110. So the American passport is now 25th.
Wow.
Global ranking.
Wow.
And this is simple. You see, the world is changing, guys. And right now, it's how you handle situations in your country. This is how you'll be respected. Things are changing. It's no longer about how much money you've got in the country. It's about how you've been able to handle pandemics, situations, crisis, war.
But we have another question in the group here. With U.S. currency being affected during this time, what do you think about gold, Habila? And if someone has already invested in gold, what should they do with it at this point?
Gold will always be gold. It's one commodity that would always be strong. And so I don't see, you should have no fear if your funds are actually invested in gold at the moment. And actually, I think it's a good time. The US dollar, is falling, but it's still strong. And I tell you a simple example. At the moment in Nigeria, there's a scarcity of dollar in Nigeria. You won't believe that dollar moved from 360 to 460, okay, for a naira, from 360 to 460. And people In fact, you can't even get it at the 460. Okay? You need to pay at least 470 or maybe even 480. So, yes, we're saying the US currency is weak and all that at the moment. But again, even the dollar you're investing with, the gold, you are actually using dollar. It's basically the rate actually is in dollar and not in euros.
Mm.
And I think this is the problem we're having in the world. And a lot of people believe that the pandemic is all about a trade war and all that because China, the yen is actually gaining value at the moment because China is the only place now really doing business and booming with business. They're producing face masks. They're producing sanitizers. They're producing everything. They don't care about oil and gas. What they care about is industrialization, manufacturing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're good with gold.
Someone wanted to mention about the cars, vehicle production on the continent conversation we were having earlier. And actually two different people. One mentioned the Kentanka in Ghana, and the other says there's one in Nigeria called the Inosun.
Yes, Inosun. Yes. Of course. Now my whole point on that is the fact that how do we go global from local, all right? And this is why I asked. Apart from you being very knowledgeable in Africa, I'm sure so many other Africans don't even know about Inosun.
I was about to say that as well. How many other countries is the Kentanka being sold in besides Ghana, even within the continent, and also the Inosun?
Yeah, and I mean, even the Inosun itself, is the government even patronizing Inosun? Mm-hmm. The answer is no. Right. Are the people patronizing him? The answer is no. Mm-hmm. So this is a man who wants to, of course, have his own Nigerian-made cars or Ghana-made cars or whatever, but still yet people are not in any way wanting to even support that business. They don't even believe in the product. How do we move from there to believing in what is made and produced from the continent?
So somebody was saying that Jewish people had a secret conversation, and he said like an older Jewish guy told him this. Asian guy told him this, be it Japanese, Chinese, etc. He said that they had a secret conversation saying that we decided we're going to buy from ourselves. We're not going to buy your stuff. And everyone here knows it. He said when Africans and diaspora have that conversation, that's when we're going to start to develop really. When we have the agreement, the unspoken agreement that we're going to buy from ourselves and that's it, that's when we're going to actually start prospering. So same like we're talking about the Japanese cars, the Japanese are buying that. They're not purchasing American cars heavy, etc. So that's what needs to happen, with all of this wealth generation needs to stay in the continent by supporting each other's economies.
Of course, but I see that this generation, our generation, is changing it. Yeah. We're changing the narrative. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that we're supporting each other's business. I mean, at the moment, I rather go on. My brother Tim has an app called Ojamia, and I rather go there and go online and order what I want to order. Supporting Black business, supporting African business. Okay, this is how we need to do. And until you're right, until we start doing that, then we're just talking. We're just talking until I can get up in the morning and go to the bank, cash out money to go buy a car made by Inosun and not a BMW or a Lexus or whatever. Then how can he actually improve? How can he how can he go global?
Right.
We have to do it. We have a population. Probably Africa has probably one of the largest population apart from Asia. We have the population. In Nigeria alone, we're about 200 million people. Okay? We're about 200 million people.
Is that in country or total diaspora as well?
No, only in the country.
So that means you have 300 million worldwide.
Yeah, probably. But we're 300 million people in Nigeria. So the numbers are there and the money is there. And I tell you, I've done this research and I've seen that at least 45% of the population are wealthy. You don't find that number anywhere in the world. 45%. But still yet the gap between the poor and the rich.
It's huge. It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. Hey, springing from that, we have another question in the group about how is it, and this is obvious to you, of course, but like it blows some people's minds, especially in America. How is it that in Africa there's not good health coverage, but there are so many great doctors from African countries in the U.S.?
Corruption. Steal all the money. They don't build good hospitals. What do you expect? I'd rather go to America or to London. I don't want to kill somebody. I don't want to be held for killing an individual just because I didn't have the equipment. Do you understand my point? Right. Just because I didn't have an oxygen in the hospital, it goes as bad as that.
Right.
Just because I didn't have a monitor or maybe a CT scan or an ultrasound. So corruption, they have ripped up the countries. They have taken all the money. And of course, the people who are professionals rather go out to work in an environment where the equipment are there for them to save lives. Every doctor wants to save life. Every nurse wants to give the best she can as a caregiver to her patients. But if those facilities are not there in the country, then they leave. So it's not rocket science. Corruption is the answer to this question.
Let's take Cuba, for example. Okay, so Cuba, Cuba has embargoes and like for decades and decades situation they've been in. But they have some of the best doctors in the world and they get paid very little to be doctors, but they stay in Cuba. And whenever anyone in the world needs Cuban doctors, they travel in a squad to go to that country and help out that country as Cuban doctors. That's their diplomatic mission, is what Castro called it. They do medical diplomacy.
Yeah. But I think for the case of Cuba is really different because I think Fidel Castro tried as much as he can to keep his people, and when you talk about plastic surgery and the rest of them, Cubans are basically one of the best in the world you have. So keeping the people in the country in as much as they earn this little, but they're happy. And maybe the facility is there. I don't know much about the health system there, but probably the facilities, the health system there is much more better maybe. Mm-hmm. And so why would they have to leave? Why would they have to leave? People don't really want much in life. What people want is the basic things. When you provide the basic things to an individual, they're happy. Provide light, provide water, provide good health care system. This is what people want, infrastructures.
Definitely agree. This is a good one from a good friend of mine, and she rarely comes on the show. My friend Melanie, how you doing? She's in the UK. And she said that she's definitely interested in education in Tanzania or Rwanda, and we were talking about that earlier as well. And I think I'll just share what we already said, Melanie, that it's good to operate from a business standpoint when you think about education and as well as healthcare. We have to operate from a business standpoint of coming in wanting to do business within education and healthcare and manufacturing. It's not about charity or just, having a big heart, as Habila was saying, impact investing. And I think that's getting more and more popular. Even Habila, I met with you a little bit before the pandemic, and we were talking about even like big guys doing impact investing and wanting their name known for they've given a big money to an impact. You speak on that.
Yeah, so basically, again, like I said, we are basically even, of course, leading a delegation of a campaign where we want to raise $1 million again to put in education in Tanzania. we've actually realized that Tanzania has one of the poorest educational systems in the world. Okay, it is that bad, and the truth is, they don't even want to agree to the fact that they, are undereducated. So what we're trying to do is to speak to people across the world, across Africa, to see how they can invest in this educational system in Tanzania. But you see, surprisingly, that even the people of Tanzania are not ready to contribute to this cause. And I recall telling someone that, how do you expect me bringing $500,000 from Nigeria to your country, and you cannot even give $50,000 to impact a system that should change for your people? So these are some of the things that I sit down and I wonder, what is actually going on in Tanzania? And you can see that clearly, even the president is saying to the world that as far as it's concerned, there is no COVID. Everybody go and live your life. Mm-hmm. So with what we have done, and as people in our own capacity, is to try as much as we can to raise this money to improve on this education. And I think we need people like, Melanie, like Heath, to come into that system and help change what is happening in Tanzania. We need to build more schools. And when we build more schools, who do we need? We need professionals like yourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. My eyes, my heart is all on Africa, to be honest with you. My mind, it's all on Africa. And I like I said, I mentioned before, Malawi, I'm going to take a trip as soon as the country opens up, as soon as I get some time. It's probably going to be December.
Yeah, and let me know about Malawi. I think it's one place we can really, because I feel it's a forgotten place. Yeah. And as a forum, Global Citizen Forum, we would be really excited to see how we can really work on that. We are at the moment, for the first time, we've appointed an ambassador coming from Africa yesterday. And I'm proud to say that I came in as the head of Africa, and I said, you know what? We need more Africans to come into this, okay? We cannot keep seeing Africa as a place, as a dumping ground, okay? Right. We should stop seeing that. It's no longer a dumping ground. And I kept saying, what happens to Africans even going to Europe to touch people's life? There's the poverty in Europe. It's something else. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Maybe you haven't really seen poverty, but I don't know if you've traveled to some part of Europe like Budva in Montenegro and the rest of them. These people are extremely hungry.
Yes, squalor. I mean, as a matter of fact, you can tell by the UAE, the people who come here to work.
So you can imagine that these are the problems going on in there, but they do not show it, because the moment they show that, the moment you show anything like that, you become weak as a continent. And this is what Africa has failed to do. We have failed to project the good stories. Rather, we're projecting the bad stories. And our leaders are happy to project the bad stories because they get grants from international communities to put in their pockets. Okay?
That's the saboteur. That's the saboteur right there.
Exactly. So the more you and I and every other person here can keep talking about the good story, can keep saying that, look, we are not hungry people. We just need the basic things, and we need our leaders to do it for us.
Yeah.
That's all we need. That's all we need.
Wow. Thank you so much, Habila. It's been very varied conversation and powerful on every level. Heath and I knew it was going to be this coming in. We knew to be ready with our ears open and our pads ready to take notes. I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well. And we want to put the final point to you on a bright vision. In terms of you being a global citizen, and even in business involved in global citizenship, kind of shine light on the things that you enjoy in life, from your family to leisure travel, work-life balance, can you kind of like wrap it up with like that entire kind of feeling that you have?
And before you do, let me tell you, your IG is very expiring, brother.
Thank you so much. Well, I think traveling probably is one of it. I think, and again, it comes with my job. So I really enjoy it, and I try to create time to enjoy life when I do, because most times when I'm back in Dubai, to be honest, I just want to rest. Like, I just want to shut down because I'm thinking of the next flight to get on. So for me, I enjoy life a lot. I enjoy music, maybe you don't know, but, I used to make music back in the days, and I was a hip hop head. I was a producer, and I always had this dream of being Timbaland. Anyway, it didn't happen. I chose another path, but however, it's still part of me. I enjoy doing research. And one of the things I would have really want to talk about was about Libya, but of course we don't have time. And Libya is one place, again, that is very dear to my heart in Africa. And this is because of, the issue they went through, taking out of Muammar Gaddafi and what the country has been. Libya used to be one of the greatest nations in the world. And today, it is what it is. But yeah, I really do enjoy spending time with family, with, do music, and doing, I don't do much of sports, but music, yes. Music is something I really love to do. I enjoy drinks. I enjoy having drinks.
And cigars. You enjoy cigars?
Yes. I'm not sure if you've met me in my man cave, but I see Williams is online. We've met a couple of times in my man cave, I call it. And probably I would invite you and Marlon one of these days to come by.
Come on, man. You know I love my cigars and my whiskey as well, man. But also, of course. Art too. You're an avid art collector as well as I saw that you're a golfer as well.
Yes. I enjoy playing golf, even though I haven't been there in a while now. But yes, golfing is something I really love to do, because it connects me with people again. All right, and it's one place that you go to and you interact and you learn. You always see people in their 70s, 60s on the golf course, and these people have so much knowledge that I enjoy talking to and learning from. So when I go on that golf course, what I love doing is playing the golf and talking to these people and learning from their experiences in life. Business failures, business success. And these are the things, because I've been through all this, stages in life. And I believe one of the most important things you can do for yourself is learn from your mistakes, from your failures, and, never stay down when you fall. Never stay down when you fall.
For sure.
This is going to be a very good listen. And I believe this is going to mature, because much of the things that we talked about with Habila are just global things that we've been trying to, they're just messages and game, for lack of better words, that everybody's going to need to hear. So I know I'll be watching this and listening to it more than once.
Let's not forget that tonight we talked about how we can impact each other and what we call the impact investment for our continent. It doesn't matter if you're American or if you're from the UK, from the Caribbean, as long as you're a Black person, then you should look at Africa as a place where you should put all that you have in. And God's willing, someday I'm going to be president of Nigeria, and of course I will see how we can how we can make things better for everyone. And yes, this is one thing that I will do, to open my borders to every Black individual to call home and feel safe.
Can you please plug yourself, Habila? Let us know where we can find you on IG and your website for Artem Capital, and just give us a final plug about yourself.
So basically, you can find me, my name, the way it is, Habila Malgwi. I'm very, very short and simple. On Instagram, our website is www.artemcapital.com or www.globalcitizenforum.org. These are the two websites. You can go online. You can Google us. You can check out what we do. And of course, we're always happy to receive inquiries. And of course, if you have ideas you like to share through the Global Citizen Forum, I'm here to assist as much as I can.
Great.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being with us today. Appreciate this so much. And as we always say at this time, live global and prosper. Peace.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Check us out on YouTube, Global Brothers Podcast, and please subscribe and share and, continue to support, good content.
Tell everybody. Mr. Worldwide.